Welcome into Locked On Phillies. The Philadelphia Phillies are in the NLCS. And, well, it's a tough task against their doppelganger maybe in the San Diego Padres. We'll break down everything ahead of this series in today's Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Been talking Phillies baseball for years here on 97.5 The Fanatic on the radio, over on 97.5 The Fanatic, I should say. And now happy to be here with you as your host of Locked On Phillies. I want to thank you for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And the Philadelphia Phillies, believe it or not, are in the National League Championship Series. A magical run through St. Louis, through the defending World Series champions and NLDS champs this year, the Atlanta Braves. And now the Philadelphia Phillies gear up for the San Diego Padres. And first off, I'm going to start by talking about what the Philadelphia Phillies have done to get them here, get them to this point, what they did in the Braves series, what they did even earlier in the Cardinals series, what they did during the regular season that might be important for this series. Next segment, we're going to preview in detail tonight's game. In game one against the Padres, Zack, Darvish, a fun matchup there. And then I've got something special for you in the final segment as well. But let's get into how the Philadelphia Phillies have gotten here, because they take down the Braves in 4 games. They win 3 of the 4, 2 at home, 1 they steal on the road in Atlanta, and they absolutely just take advantage of some dominant pitching by Aaron Nola. Zack Wheeler was really good in his start. Unfortunately, the Phillies didn't win it, but Aaron Nola was exceptional in his start in the series. And you look at the bullpen, they were really good. You look at the offense, they woke up. I believe it was 24 total runs scored in 4 games. That's incredible. The environment at Citizens Bank Park is impossible to play in. I don't know how anyone beats them there. It's got to be terrifying to think about going there. And this is another one of those series matchups. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the fan support, because that's a huge reason why the Phillies are here. They routed the Braves at Citizens Bank Park 2 games in a row, both with huge implications. The second one with elimination, the first one to set up elimination. And the environment was unbelievable. I haven't talked about it yet on the podcast because the games are Friday and Saturday, but I was down there for both of them. It's the loudest I've ever heard Citizens Bank Park. Now, I did not go into any of the games during the 2008 run. I was watching those all from home. 2009, I went to a World Series game against the Yankees at Citizens Bank Park, but I was young, and the Phillies ended up losing that game, so a little bit of a different feel there. And also, that was a series where it looked kind of tough. The Yankees were unbelievable that year. But that being said, in the games that I have gone to and the games I have been in person with, that's the most electric I've ever felt Citizens Bank Park. It was amazing. So that's a huge advantage for the Philadelphia Phillies heading into this best-of-7 series. Well, they'll play 3 straight games at home. Now, if you're not familiar with how the series is set up, it's 2 on the road, so 2 in San Diego, which would be tonight and tomorrow, an off day Thursday, and then 3 at home at Citizens Bank Park, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all at the bank. And then Monday, Tuesday, they will play in San Diego. No travel day there. Monday and Tuesday are going to be tough games. Ideally, you want to win it in 5 so that the Phillies don't have to go back to San Diego. But the 3 games at Citizens Bank Park are going to be paramount for that, and the home field advantage is huge for the Phillies, maybe more so than anyone else in baseball. That's awesome. Keep up the fan support. The other stuff they've done well. Well, I talked about the starting pitching and the bullpen. In order to knock out the Philadelphia Phillies, some team in a series is going to have to beat both Zack Wheeler and Aaron Nola. It's a tough thing to do. That's very, very, very difficult thing. And in this series, it looks like with the spread of the pitching and the rested arms, you're going to have Zack Wheeler tonight. You're going to have Aaron Nola game 2. And then those guys will be able to throw in games either 5 and 6 or 6 and 7, depending on how the Phillies want to break out the rest and what works out there. But each of them will be able to throw twice in this series, which is huge. The Phillies could lose every game that Zack Wheeler and Aaron Nola don't start, and they could still win the series 4-3. That sounds pretty good to me. That's a tough matchup for any team. Now let's talk about the bullpen. Sir Anthony Dominguez and Jose Alvarado are an unbelievable 1-2 punch. They both throw 100 plus. One righty, Sir Anthony, one lefty, Jose Alvarado, and they're feeling it right now. Their off speed's good. The momentum's good. They're absolutely zoned in. Zack has been really good out of the pen as a converted closer, high inning leverage guy. Like, he's been really good for them in that specialized role. Brad Hand is starting to settle back in. Noah Syndergaard, whether he's in the pen or making a spot start, was really, really good in that series with the Atlanta Braves. Yeah, I told you guys that the bullpen rotation shrinks a little bit when you get to the postseason. Well, that has significantly helped the Phillies. In a 7-game series, you're going to need a little bit more. There's going to be an Andrew Bellotti inning that probably matters a lot. Hopefully not a Connor Brogdon inning that matters, but it's possible. We'll see if David Robertson's able to come back from his calf injury and is able to go for this series. That would be a huge help if he is healthy. But the bullpen, the guys who have been throwing, have been outstanding. If that continues, the Phillies are going to be a tough team to beat. And then this lineup. Bryce Harper goes 8 for 16 in the NLDS. He bats 500 with 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, like a 156 something OPS. Just unbelievable for Bryce Harper in his matchup with the Atlanta Braves. Most of the damage comes at home. He was really, really good at Citizens Bank Park. He has officially woken up. He's terrifying. He's the best hitter in this series right now. And yes, I know that includes Juan Soto and Manny Machado, who are on the other side, and any of other Bryce Harper's teammates. He's the best hitter in this series right now. Now, Kyle Schwarber still hasn't done much long ball wise, but Rhys Hoskins got off the schneid a little bit. He hit that big home run in Game 3 with the bat spike. I don't know what I was trying to say there. I think I just had a stroke. Throwing his bat down to the ground after hitting a big home run off Spencer Strider. He started to wake up a little bit. Brandon Marsh hit a home run in Game 4. Bryson Stott had a huge at-bat in Game 3. Gene Segura has reached base in every single playoff game this year. Every single playoff game he's ever been in, because this is his first time in the playoffs. JT Realmuto hit an inside-the-park home run. Everybody's contributing. Literally everybody is contributing. Nick Castellanos had some big hits. It's just incredible work by the Philadelphia Phillies lineup, top to bottom, to be really, really good. The lineup today, normal, exactly what you'd expect for the Philadelphia Phillies, facing you, Darvish, facing the righty. And, of course, you're going to lead off with Kyle Schwarber. Rhys Hoskins batting second, playing first. JT Realmuto catching, batting third. Bryce Harper DHing, batting fourth. Castellanos in right, batting fifth. Bohm, third base, batting sixth. Stott, shortstop, batting seventh. Segura at second base, batting eighth. And Brandon Marsh turning the lineup over in the 9-hole spot. It's the regular Phillies lineup. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's happy. They're ready to go. The momentum's good there. Rob Thompson knows how to handle this team. He knows how to handle the bullpen. He knows how to handle the starters. They've got everything rolling for them right now. There is not a weak spot with this team totally. If there is one thing that's still a little worrisome, there were some defensive lapses by Rhys Hoskins still and Alec Boehm a little bit in the home games against the Braves. They didn't end up mattering, but against a team like the Padres, who were running a little bit hotter than what the Braves were, they could. So keep an eye on the defense. The Phillies still have to make sure they're playing really, really good defense throughout the entirety of this series, and that should go without saying. But that might be my biggest concern. That's them related and not Padres related. But there aren't really any huge weaknesses with this team right now. They're just a darn good baseball team with a darn good manager, a great GM, an incredible fan base behind them, the best in baseball, and certainly the best left in baseball. And they're going to be a very tough out. Now, to do that, they're going to have to find a way to steal a game on the road. 4 games are played in San Diego, so mathematically, you got to win a road one for you to find a way to the World Series. And coming up, I'm going to talk to you about why it's paramount for the Phillies to at least split in these 2 games they're about to play in San Diego. And we'll preview specifically tonight's game between the Phillies and the Padres out there on the West Coast. We'll discuss that coming up next on Locked On Phillies. Okay, I want to talk to you about my friends over at BetOnline. You can get your bets in on the series still, the NLCS. BetOnline.net is your number one source for football betting info this season. You can find all of the latest Player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on every game you can find. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all of your sport wagering information with live betting, up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there, everything you need. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all of them, your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. So head to betonline.net or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Thank you to our friends at BetOnline for sponsoring today's episode. Okay, preview of one time. We talked to you about how the Phillies got here. Now let's talk about what they're going to have to do to continue to stay here. The pitching matchup, it's Zack Wheeler. It's Yu Darvish. And man, have these guys been good this year. And we know Zack Wheeler's stats. We know how good he's been. We know he's been amazing in the playoffs. We know he was great in Atlanta, even though they didn't get the win. But here's what you're facing in Yu Darvish, a guy, a 16-game winner. He was 16-8 this year with a 3.10 ERA, nearly 200 strikeouts, 197 Ks. And here's the thing that really should scare you. The .95 whip, fourth best in baseball. And that just means you're not going to get many opportunities against Darvish. Darvish, of course, right-handed pitcher, 36 years old. It feels like he's been around forever. But he's still going strong, and he's still a guy that can absolutely take over a game. He's 7-3 at home, and that 3.1 ERA, well, it drops to 2.6 when he's home. He's very good at Petco Park. Now, in his last start, we'll talk you through, he went 6 innings pitched, 8 hits, 3 run, 3 earned against the Los Angeles Dodgers, who gave up a home run. He only struck out 6. So his last start was not all that great against the Los Angeles Dodgers. So maybe he's having a little bit of trouble, but they did win that game. The Padres did. They won his last start. They won a start against the Mets 7-1. The last time he lost was on September 30th against the Chicago White Sox, or rather the last time the team lost when he started. But here's something to look at. The hits numbers. Back on Saturday, 924. 5 hits to the Colorado Rockies. 8 hits to the White Sox in that game we were just talking about. 6 hits to the Mets. In the wild card series, 7 hits given up to the Dodgers. And all of those are in 7 innings of work or less. So you're looking at a guy who's showing some signs maybe of fatigue. He's good, and you won't get many opportunities, but there's more than what the stats would suggest. Hopefully the Phillies lineup, who can grind out at bats against anybody, can get going. And I think he's a good matchup for Kyle Schwarber. Now, here's what we're going to look at. We're going to look at the Phillies-Padres game 1. And the Phillies hitter's career versus Yu Darvish to see who's going good. Now, Kyle Schwarber has hit a home run off of Darvish in his career. He's 2 for 9 all-time, 222 average with a home run. Rhys Hoskins actually 6 for 16, 375 righty-righty matchup. That's encouraging. He's got a home run as well. Realmuto's 4 for 17, 235, but the good news is he's got 17 career bats against him. He's seen him. He knows this guy. Bryce Harper only 1 for 6. A little interesting there. Does also have a home run, though. His one hit has left the ballpark. Nick Castellanos, 4 for 17. Also a big sample size there. Alec Boehm's 1 for 8 career, not great. Bryce is not 1 for 4 in his one game he's faced. Yu Darvish, Gene Segura, 2 for 13. Doesn't see him well. And Brandon Marsh only 1 for 3. So when I look at it, it's the big guys at the top of the order that have hit Darvish really well. Hoskins, Realmuto, Castellanos. And then you've got Schwarber with the potential to go yard. It's interesting there to see what's going on for the Phillies matchup with the Padres. It'll be a tough task against Yu Darvish. It'll be a tough task against Blake Snell tomorrow night. Then you're going to see either Joe Musgrove or Sean Manaea. It's going to be really hard. Clevenger, like they're a really, really good baseball team, and they have a really, really good rotation. Yeah, you're going to have to beat 1 or 2 of their top guys too in order to find a way out of this series. Hey, the fight's on. Let's see how it goes. Now, here's how the Padres offense will line up for tonight's game. Jurickson Profar is going to bat off playing left field. Juan Soto, second. Did I say bat off? Lead off. Juan Soto's batting second, playing right. Machado's playing third base, batting fourth. Josh Bell batting fourth, designated hitting. Jake Cronenworth, second base, batting fifth. Will Myers playing first base, batting sixth. Ha-Seong Kim, shortstop. Trent Grisham, center field. And then in the 9-hole, Austin Nola, Aaron's brother, starting a catcher. He's been really good in the playoffs. Incredible. Now, the numbers against Zack Wheeler, Interesting. Jurickson Profar's 2 for 5 career, 400, but that's just one game's worth of work. 1 or 2 games worth. Juan Soto, 11 for 38. That's 289, but a huge sample size because of all that time in the division. Same with Josh Bell, who's 8 for 26, batting 308. Those guys see Zack Wheeler really well. Not a great sign there. Machado's only 2 for 8. That's a good sign. And then the bottom of the lineup, Cronenworth 1 for 6. Myers 1 for 7. Kim 1 for 3. Grisham 0 for 5, and Austin Nola has never faced Zack Wheeler in his career. The bottom of the order needs to be light work. The guys that are going to hurt you are 1 through 5. 1 through 4 even, really, because Cronenworth hasn't been all that good against Wheeler. Attack Profar, Soto, Machado, and Bell with caution. Do your work against the bottom of the lineup. That should be the pitching strategy for Zack Wheeler in tonight's game. And where do I think the difference will be made? Well, I think it will be the bottom of the lineup. I think it will be those guys, the guys with minimal experience against these starting pitchers, the guys like Brandon Marsh, Bryson Stott. You're looking at Gene Segura, who, of course, is not a bottom of the order guy, but is in the bottom of the order for the Philadelphia Phillies. Those are the types of players that will make a big difference in this one. And similarly for the San Diego Padres, the Will Myers, the Austin Nola, the Jake Cronenworth, who I know he's batting 5th, but has had trouble against Wheeler in his career. Jake Cronenworth, the best player for the Padres in that NLDS matchup with the Dodgers. So he's going really hot right now, even though he's not great against Wheeler career-wise. He is a really good player. Yeah, it's a tough matchup. Here's what I'll say. I know Yu Darvish is a good pitcher, but when I look at what Zack Wheeler has been this year and this postseason, it's hard to pick against the Phillies with him on the mound. And this lineup, looking at the runs produced, every single game, I think, there were 3 of the 4 games in the matchup with the Dodgers in the NLDS ended 5-3 for the Padres. They lost a 5-3 game, and they won 2 games with the score of 5-3. They haven't really put up an exceptional amount of runs because that's not the type of team they are. They're a score 2-3 runs, pitch and play defense, and kind of squeeze you out like a boa constrictor. They're not going to have the huge innings or the competitive at-bats all the way through. They're going to score a couple runs, get a lead, and just sit on it and squeeze you out because they have great pitching, a great bullpen. Remember, Josh Hader is waiting back there in the bullpen among some other good arms they have. It'll be a tall task, but hey, the NLCS always is. Tell you what, though, thinking about something. Do you remember the 2008 run, the last time the Philadelphia Phillies won the World Series? And do you remember who that NLCS was played against? Yeah, the Phillies have had some West Coast success in the National League Championship Series the last time they won the World Series. They're comfortable going to the West Coast, or at least they were back then. And something about the weather being warmer and it being a little bit of a sleepier sports town out there in San Diego. Now, I'm sure they'll be awake for this one, but it won't be Philadelphia. It won't be loud by our standards. It'll be loud by their standards, which is respectable but different. I think the more advantage in this series from home games is going to be Philadelphia's. We saw that in Friday and Saturday's game. I think they're going to be amped up come Friday night when you have game 3. And hopefully the Phillies are taking at least a 1-1 tie or maybe even a 2-0 lead back to Philly for that one. But yeah, the biggest X factors, number 1 will be the starting pitching of Zack Wheeler and Aaron Nola. Number 2 will be the bottom of the lineup, the guys who have produced in the Braves series to continue to produce. And number 3 will be the crowd. That's the one that other players and fans and teams can't replicate. You can't create the Philadelphia crowd. We have it. No one else does. And we have to use that to our advantage Friday, Saturday, Sunday to make this the toughest place in Major League Baseball to play. Firmly believe we'll do that. It's absolutely awesome to see fans out there like that. It's absolutely wonderful. So those are my keys to the series. I didn't give a prediction for the other series. Wait, no. Yeah, I did. So I'll do it again. I think the Phillies win in 6. I think it's Phillies in 6. I think they split on the road trip. I think they take 2 of 3 back here at home. And they head into San Diego with 3-2 lead going into game 6. And I think they absolutely choke them out. That's it. That's how I see it. And hopefully I'm right, or it's finished even sooner than that. Maybe the Phillies win in 5 and don't have to go back to the West Coast and get a longer break. But I'll tell you what, they start tonight. The Yankees and the Guardians are currently playing game 5 of the ALDS still. The Astros and Guardians or Yankees, whoever ends up running into them, haven't even started their championship series yet. If the Phillies can wrap this thing up quickly, well, they could have a real long rest heading into the World Series, get everyone ready to go, and set their pitching up again. A lot of stuff breaking the Philadelphia Phillies way. I'm just a huge fan of it. And coming up next, we'll wrap up with a little something special, answering a big question that I've gotten about the Philadelphia Phillies since this run started. How did we get here? I'll tell you how next as we wrap up Locked On Phillies. Okay, how did we get here? It's the overarching question that I've been asked by so many people around the ballpark, in the parking lots, at work at 97.5 The Fanatic, here with tweets and stuff, people to the Locked On Phillies account, friends, texts, everything. How did we get here? How did this Phillies team become this, an NLCS team, and one that could potentially go to the World Series that looks like they're playing as good as anybody in baseball right now? And to me, I came up with a theory. I talked about this on the radio already, but it's the 4-minute mile theory. So Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile. But for years and years before he did it, people believed it was humanly impossible. Then once he did it, it was about a month and a half until somebody else did it. Immediately, a bunch of people started breaking the 4-minute mile barrier because, well, it was proved possible. The strength of mental suggestion and proving things are possible, huge to human beings, even though we don't always realize it. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, their 4-minute mile was making the playoffs. His team for 11 years didn't make it in. Choke, fall apart in September, fall apart in October. If the season runs long, fall apart just against the Marlins, against the Nationals, against teams they shouldn't be losing to. Unbelievable collapses down the stretch for the Phillies. And I think it became a point where they weren't going to believe in themselves until they made it in. But the second they made it in, that mental barrier was completely removed. And all of a sudden, they're like, oh, wow, we are a really, really good, talented team. I think mentally, the hurdle of getting over the playoff berth that they haven't earned for 11 years, and I know it's different guys on every team, but these guys know the narrative, even though they haven't been here for all 11 of those years. I think getting over that broke down that hurdle, broke down that mental barrier, and created like a headspace where they truly believe they're the best team in baseball right now. They know they're talented. They know they're capable, and they have the faith in themselves that they didn't have prior to clinching that playoff berth. And what wonders it makes. I also think it's a weight lifted off of them. There's much less pressure because no one was saying, oh, they can't win a wild card series. No one was saying they can't win a divisional series. No one was saying they can't win a league championship series. No one was saying they can't win the World Series. No, it was less than that. People were saying they can't make the playoffs. People were saying they can't choke. Now, I know when we got to those series, there were people who were nervous about their ability to make it out of the wild card series in St. Louis or the divisional series against Atlanta. But my point is, no one was looking further ahead. There was no pressures past making it into the playoffs for this team. Their goal was to make it in and then see what happens. And a loose team without a lot of pressure. It's not like the Yankees where it was World Series or bust. It's not like the Dodgers where they had to win the World Series or it was going to be a disappointing year. No, this is a team that's playing loose, that's playing light, and they have no pressure on them whatsoever. You could tell by the way they approach everything at the plate. It's just a fun team right now, and they're playing really good baseball. And it's because they broke down that 4-minute mile barrier, that playoff drought barrier. And to me, it's that mentality that's put them where they are today. From the team we saw in October, early October, September, even August at points. Definitely not June or July because they were really good then. And certainly at the beginning of the season. So that's what I attribute it to. Just a mental block that they've hugely overcome. And now sky is the limit. And we'll see tonight where that limit lies. We'll get our first look of their competition level against the San Diego Padres, who are a really good team and very similar to them. Strong starting pitching, good bullpen, a couple big acquisitions at the trade deadline, a big free agent signing a couple years back that's finally paying off in Manny Machado. Young, like a head coach nearly the same age, a fan base that had a playoff drought. There's a lot of similarities. Heck, there's even a NOLA on each team. But hey, I'll still ride with the Phillies because of this fan base and because of breaking down that mental hurdle. we'll see how it plays out. And I will have a reaction to Game 1 tomorrow and a preview of Game 2 on the next Locked On Phillies. I want to thank you for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Now make your second listen Locked On MLB. Paul Francis Sully, he's awesome. He's covering Major League Baseball playoffs in totality, getting down near the end here. So some of the best stuff all year you'll hear from Paul Francis Sullivan. It's available wherever you get your podcast, YouTube, the Odyssey app, everywhere. Hey, that's all my time. Let's buckle up. Game 1, NLCS, coming your way tonight at 8:07 Eastern Standard Time. Hey, let's go win a pennant. I'll talk to you tomorrow on the next Locked On Phillies.